Good morning, Bucknutters. It's Tuesday, September 23rd, 2014. My name is Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5. Got a great show planned for you today. Going to have Bill Kurlick go into detail about what will be an incredibly important visit weekend coming up. Having had a chance to look at it, I think you can start to make an argument that the Cincinnati game will actually have a more impactful group of recruits there than even at the Virginia Tech game, which is definitely saying something. We're also going to weigh in on an interview you should really pay attention to that we have on the site of a guy who doesn't always get a chance to get in front of the media and was very impressive yesterday. And then we'll talk about a few recruits that have committed elsewhere but could very well end up plying their trade, which is football, in Columbus. Stay tuned. When Ohio State has their media gatherings on Monday evenings, it's their choice which players come out. Yesterday, Adolphus Washington was one of those players, and he hasn't always been a guy to come out and talk to the media a lot. There's video of this on the site right now. I really encourage you to go check this out. It's under the header of Adolphus Washington wanting to face off against a Cincinnati team. Most middle-of-the-week interviews or beginning-of-the-week interviews with a player are more game-based and coach-speaky, player-speaky. But this is a really interesting few minutes with Washington. He really goes into great detail about his process of selecting Ohio State and how he feels about Cincinnati and such. And for a guy you don't get a chance to talk to or hear from so much, just very impressed with the guy. As everybody knows, I think he could be in for a needed name change. But either Godzilla or Diesel will do. Really encourage you guys to go check that out right now here on the site. Okay, we'll get to the Dean here in short order as he will give you the most updated and informative preview on the Cincy visit weekend as you can possibly get. I will say that the Jerome Baker recruitment and the Alex Stump recruitments are certainly the most interesting ones going right now. I think you can expect the spatula to come out at some point on both. I spoke to someone I really trust yesterday about coaching who's very connected, and he was of the mind that there will be two big jobs opening up this off season. One in Florida, one in Michigan. Given the fact that Baker is committed to Florida right now, I think you can expect Herb to get out a big old spatula. I really believe Baker will end up in the Ohio State class. Alex Stump, of course, is committed to Kentucky. I don't think it will take the same size spatula, but I do think he'll end up on the Columbus griddle when all is said and done. Now hang on, and the Dean will take you home with a complete report on the big Cincy visit weekend coming up.
This weekend, the Buckeyes take on Cincinnati for a big night game in Ohio Stadium, and it will also be a very big recruiting weekend for the Ohio State staff. They will welcome in five-star quarterback Torrance Gibson from Florida for his long-awaited official visit to Ohio State, and I continue to feel very good about the Buckeyes' chances of eventually landing a commitment from Torrance Gibson. Also, the Buckeyes will welcome in star defensive back Kendall Sheffield for an official visit, and H-back A.J. Alexander confirmed to me on Monday night that despite his injury this past weekend, he will still be making an official visit to Ohio State this weekend. Of course, A.J. Alexander recently committed to Ohio State. He was commitment number 16 for Urban Meyer's 2015 recruiting class. Also, linebacker Jerome Baker is making an unofficial visit to Ohio State this weekend. Certainly, the Buckeyes would love to flip the current Florida commitment. And on Monday night, Baker confirmed to me that he is going to eventually schedule an official visit to Ohio State, so that also is huge for 2015 Buckeye recruiting. But this weekend could have an even bigger impact on 2016 Ohio State offensive recruiting, as quarterback Dwayne Haskins, the Buckeyes' number one 2016 quarterback target, is planning to make an unofficial visit to Ohio State for the Cincinnati game this weekend. Also, the Buckeyes' top two tight end targets for the class of 2016, Jake Hausman and Luke Farrell, both from the state of Ohio, are going to visit Ohio State on Saturday for the game against the Bearcats. And then offensive lineman Tommy Kramer from Cincinnati Elder High School, a five-star offensive lineman, and Michael Menet from Pennsylvania. They will both be in the Horseshoe for unofficial visits on Saturday night. Menet's father told me on Monday night that his son certainly is very interested in Ohio State, and landing eventually either Kramer or Michael Manet would be huge as the Buckeyes try to restock the offensive line. So everything is shaping up to be not only a big recruiting weekend for Ohio State when it comes to 2015 recruiting, but perhaps eventually an even bigger recruiting weekend when it comes to 2016 Buckeye recruiting.